Okay, okay, there we go. Okay, this is Ling from Slibrary.com, business soul work and marketing activation for coaches. So today I have a guest with me. It is Lindsey Whitmer Collins, and long story short, she is the app girl. Would that be fair to say?
Sure. Yeah.
So Lindsey has designed and her team has developed over 24 and counting cross-platform mobile applications that have earned for her clients as many as 2,000 daily downloads and have accelerated the growth of their marketing list by as much as 400%. Lindsey's company was named one of the 5 startups worth mentioning, can't speak today, by the Boston Globe and one of the 10 startups to watch by the Boston Business Journal. She's now based in San Francisco, and you can visit her at lindsey.wcollins.com. And I will post everything below this video on the blog post so you can get all her information. Now, Lindsey, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. So, let's talk about your area of expertise, of course. Tell us, who do you create apps for, or what kind of entrepreneurs do you think are best poised to succeed on mobile?
Well, sure. So, my work is really targeted toward online message-driven entrepreneurs, and that has been over the past year mostly actually health coaches, because I used to be a health coach, and I started working with health coaches because initially I had created a very expensive, time-consuming mobile app from the ground up, and after I was done with that and I released it, a lot of my friends who also were health coaches were kind of coming up to me like, oh, I want to create an app too, and having gone through that process myself, toward the end of it, I just kind of felt like it was like such a hassle, and I kind of like warned them against it a little bit because I was like, it's so expensive, it takes so much time, and like, you know, let me help you do this, or just let me do it for you. And so I developed a bunch of tools and resources for them so that they could get their own app out there for definitely a fraction of what I had to pay for my app, and also getting it out there a lot faster than I was able to do that. And so that's how my work started, and I would say that still at this point about 85% of my clients are health coaches. So that's, you know, my main people I work with, but really the software works well for anybody who has a message-driven business or whose value added is the content that they create and the message that they have that they want to kind of spread to the world. And so using these mobile apps as a way to get them out there fast, global, yeah, so just to widen their impact and their reach and their influence. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I know there's like a lot of people talking in mobile, and absolutely more and more people are spending their life on the phone, right? I'm like, okay, where's my phone? Like, I won't be off my phone for more than, you know, except I sleep, right, for more than, I don't know, half an hour. Anyway, everybody's on mobile now. So in your website, it references what you call the post-web world. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Well, you know, just to do like a quick overview of just the absolute takeover of mobile over the past 5 years, how it's changed our way of life, and the unprecedented opportunity it presents for brands and businesses to really become an active part of people's everyday lives. So, you know, everybody who's watching this already knows about the pervasiveness of mobile. It's apparent in your life right now. So if you just think back to the past 24 hours or even the past 2 hours, how often did you glance at your phone? And I'm sure there are people watching who are glancing at their phones right now. So over the course of this conversation, the average American will have checked their phone 3 times. So that's once every 6 minutes and more than 150 times a day. That's once every 6 minutes we glance at our phones. So for many of us too, like myself included, our phones are one of the first things we look at when we wake up and one of the last things we look at before we go to sleep. So, good or bad, this is the new normal. And statistics like this really indicate very clearly that, we're addicted to our phones, but it's not the accessibility of the web that we're addicted to, because we spend a mere 20% of our phone time on the web, and we spend the other 80% of that time using apps. So if you want to have a presence in this new mobile world we're living in, you can't just have a mobile-friendly website and call it a day. We're on our phones. We download 7 million apps every day, and apps are what we're using. We also, interestingly, now watch our phones more than TV. And as a result, the mobile phone screen is now considered the most valuable advertising real estate in the world. There's a venture capital company out here a couple months ago, Bessemer Venture Partners, and they valued a quarter inch of the mobile home screen, or the size of an app icon, at $1 billion. So there's literally no place in the world right now where your brand can be more visible or influential than as an icon on somebody's phone. So it's having this unprecedented impact on our consciousness, because we're looking at it every day, all the time. So, if you're not convinced yet of the marketing value of creating an app, you can just consider this as a sheer matter of odds. So there are 634 million websites on the internet. There are only 0.9 million iPhone apps. So the App Store is kind of like a ghost town compared to the web. It's like a very small pond. And that means that your brand will be over 700 times more visible in the App Store than it is right now on the web. So, that pressing question of, where are my clients? How can I find them? The answer is that they're probably staring at their phone. So let's get you on that screen.
Wow, that's some really amazing statistics, and really good to know. Gets me excited about that. So we really see demonstrated by what you just told us, particularly how the growing influence of mobile presents a big potential marketing opportunity. So how does it work, in real life? Maybe some example to let the listener sort of sink their teeth into this whole concept, and how and what can they, how they can leverage mobile to grow their business and reach more people.
Sure. I think looking at what other people have done and what they've been able to achieve with it is a really good place to start in terms of understanding what you could possibly achieve on the platform as well. So I can give you an overview of how my portfolio, the apps that I've developed over the past 4 years, and how they're performing, and dive into some specific examples of ways that health coaches have used an app to really grow their business. So from the broad view, the apps in my portfolio right now are attracting between 7 and 50 downloads per day. That's every app, every day, from 7 to 50 downloads. So you can feasibly expect that your app will convert somewhere in that range, which depends a lot on your branding and the way you position your app in the App Store, which we can talk about a little bit more later if y'all are interested. But our download rate altogether has been pretty steady over time, meaning that none of our apps are really fading off into App Store obscurity, which I know is like a big fear. You release the app, you get a bunch of downloads, and then it dies. But we're not seeing that. I think because we're really constantly updating and upgrading the apps and re-releasing them with new features and updates. So that's been good, and right now our apps are currently being used on every inhabitable continent on the globe, so that's everywhere but Antarctica. We can dive into a couple of specific examples. So Amy Medling is a client of mine, and she's an established entrepreneur, health coach, founder of the popular PCOS Diva brand. And her app is called PCOS Diva. It got over 2,000 downloads in her first 24 hours and more than doubled her list growth rate from 20 new leads per day to more than 70. So our app alone will add over 10,000 high-quality leads to our list over the course of this year alone. And then another example, I think Amy at this point, she just recently surpassed 20,000 downloads, both on iPhone and Android. So she's also meeting people and talking to them about her work, and she'll find them, they'll come back to her and be like, oh yeah, I have your app. And so that's kind of cool where she's finding that people are hearing about her who, she never would have never would have known or realized like the reach or influence that it's having. So that's been pretty great for her. Another example is Simone Samuels. So she's a health coach who lives in Indonesia on the beach. So when she was just getting started with her business, she knew she's got to be global. So she released her app at the very outset of founding her business. And her new website, which she ended up releasing, I think, after her app or shortly after her app, so she did the app first. But her new website produces 5 new leads for her each week, while her app attracts that many in a day. So over the course of the year, her app will have brought over 1,800 qualified leads to her business. So it's working out really well for those two, and that's the example of one entrepreneur who's already really well established, just taking her traffic to the next level, and another who was just like new, just getting started, and her app enabled her to really get momentum behind her brand. But like beyond lead generating and list building, many of my clients created an app simply because they wanted to have a forward-looking business. I know that having your own app really positions you and your brand as modern, relevant, and successful, and definitely separates you from the crowd. So these apps have clients have created apps that are intended for their existing audience, either as companions to their programs or as a way to deliver entire programs directly into people's pockets, wherever they are. For example, Sue Kemple, she built an app for teachers in her school wellness program. It's called Campus Coaches, and this app keeps them inspired and helps them track their progress. It has a little journal inside of it. Lorraine Miller, she created a 30-day gratitude journaling program that's a companion to her award-winning book, From Gratitude to Bliss. And there's another coach named Colleen Dorothy, and her app walks her existing clients through daily reflections that help ensure their success in her programs. And so with this approach, your app can add value for your current clients and just increase the effectiveness of your programs. So yeah, I think that those are some examples of how it's worked out, how people have used the technology. So the possibilities really are endless, and probably everyone listening has at least one good app idea right now.
That's pretty amazing, and I love the all the numbers and the examples that really how it can be implemented into the context of coaching and health coaching in particular. So it really makes me want me to jump on it. It sounds like a no-brainer. Okay, here's my next reaction. And I'm sure other people would have the same question, because a lot of people, my clients, come to me and say, oh, I don't know about this technology thing, I can't do this website thing, and this web thing is so confusing. So what if I'm not techie? Can I handle it?
Yeah, sure. Well, here's kind of like where the cause comes in, or the reason I do this at all. So if I can just like switch gears and talk about the reason I do this in the first place. So given the ubiquity of smartphones in our lives, I think it's a safe assumption that the software we're seeing and interact with on our phones is affecting who we are and who we'll become, both as individuals and as a society, in mostly subconscious, but I think significant ways. We know that an app icon alone has this unheard of level of influence on a person's consciousness. So if we're able to put positive, really life-affirming content on people's phones, then I think we can have a real impact on things. So my entire mission is to take the intimidation out of mobile app development, so that people like everyone on this call, and especially people who say, oh, I'm not techie, but you're doing work that makes the world a better place. So regardless of your prior tech inclinations, my goal is that you'll feel confident and equipped to create your own app. And my business model revolves around allowing you to do that at a lower cost in time and effort and money than you can get anywhere else. So that's like the whole reason I exist, is to make this completely easy, accessible, doable for you. My clients right now are ranged in age all the way up to 75, and no one has found the technical process insurmountable. I've tried to really keep you out of that, so you don't have to worry about or see any code. So I take care of all the hard parts. clients don't have to think about how their app will work, how do I optimize my user experience, how do I submit it to the app stores, how do I maintain it, how do I maximize my download. So I do all that work for you, and have designed kind of proven app structures that you can choose from. And all you have to do is just send me your branding, write your content. So really just do the things that you already do really well, which is have the message, have the idea, know what you want to say, and then I do the rest for you.
That's
Put it
so
into an app, get it out there. Yeah.
It's like those. I was like, I was looking at the app, sort of app world a little back when I'm like, all those submission and putting it together. I'm like, what? Not doing it. So I think your service is really invaluable in terms of really helping people to get over the hurdle of I don't know what to do about it, into putting their expertise and their content out there in a way that is not being held back by the technology stuff. As in, I was putting my hair up as I was setting up this Google Hangout. Okay. So now that the next question, of course, is now how much does it cost to develop an app? It sounds expensive.
Yeah, and it really is and can be, but like my first app project, I ended up spending close to $100,000 on it, which I don't recommend. A lot of that was just because I was so new to the space. I didn't know who to hire. I didn't know. And mostly it was like I didn't really know how to design an app well when I first got started, and so I ended up building things that didn't work and had to kind of rework it a lot. But the app space in general just is really expensive, and again, that's like another reason why I exist, is to make it not expensive, to be able to create structures where we can share code and get things done faster and a lot less expensively. But to give you an idea of like really, regardless of like whether you work with me, if you're just like working out in the world, the research and statistics right now, an article came out in OSX Daily which reported that the development cost for small apps is $3,000 to $8,000, and then TechCrunch did a survey of mobile app developers. I think he surveyed 96 developers, and that showed that the average cost to develop an app was around $6,500, and that was in mid-2013, so about a year ago. I was at $6,500. And according to How Much to Build an App.com, which is one of the definitive app quotation resources online, they put the minimum engineering investment for any app at $8,000. So that's the actual cost of an app's code base alone. So that's like the cost of the engineers. But it assumes you've already taken care of your user experience and interface design. It doesn't take into account the App Store submission process, legal protections, App Store optimization, ongoing maintenance, etc. So you'd want to add at least like 20% and 3 more months of work to that, just to get all the other pieces in motion. And I exist to kind of like try to crush those numbers and deliver apps at much less. So just to like get as many message-driven entrepreneurs on mobile as possible. People are just like trying to make the world happier and healthier. So how I work is that I create code architecture that you can think of as, it's like a hard candy shell that you fill with your content. That's the creamy center. Wrap in your branding and deploy it as your own. So by creating these candy shells that can be used in a million different ways, we're able to create apps at a fraction of the cost and in a sliver of the time it would take to make that same app from scratch. So it's kind of like the beauty of working in community. I build software that we can all share, and because we all share it, we have to pitch in, but nobody has to pay the full cost.
That's a very smart idea, very smart model to work with. This is awesome. Just based on the way that you talk about it, it's almost like a very smart content management system for apps. So, and I can see how, it's like kind of like WordPress, right? If you know how to type, you can update your website, kind of thing.
Yeah, so very similar.
Right? So, so I know a lot of people have competing priorities, and they have a bucket of money to invest in their own business, right? So it's not like a limitless resource. Why would someone want to do an app now instead of later? Like, what should they be considering when they prioritize whether they want to do an app now or do something else right now?
Yeah, well, everybody's different, and where you are in your business, and where your budget is, and what you want to focus on. That's something where it would be great to kind of talk to somebody on the phone and strategize with them, like exactly where they are and what kind of app would really get the most results for them, depending on what their priorities are, what kind of results they want to get, and whether the time is now or later. But kind of like in a general sense, what I tell people, and of course I'm biased, but I kind of see it as like we have three choices, right? We either, one, like for people who are really forward looking, build your own app now. While the App Store pond is still very small, the space is new, like you can just kind of dominate. It's a really big opportunity. Or two, you wait a year or two until everybody else with an online business has an app. Or three, like people who pretended the web wasn't happening in the early 2000s. You can just pretend mobile isn't happening and see how things go. And I present those three choices with an obvious preference for the first option. Just build your own app now, take advantage of the opportunity. And, I'm assuming that everyone listening really has a big message, a world-changing message, and wants a bullhorn, just wants people to hear it and get their brand and their voice on as many phones in as many pockets as possible all around the world. And this is really the best way to do it. So it really allow you to establish yourself as an expert, build a following fast, and help accelerate your list growth rate to bring you to an even higher level of influence. But like on a more practical, nuts and bolts, feel it in your wallet level, I'm going to offer everyone watching a few bonuses if they schedule a call with me in the month of June and decide to create their own app. So I know you're going to put that in the text of the article, but just to let everyone know, so I'm going to give you my full course on App Store optimization. And App Store optimization is kind of like you do search engine optimization for your website. You do App Store optimization for your app. And that will allow you to really maximize your app's visibility and download. So I have a step-by-step course, and I'll give you that. And then I'll also throw in an $800 credit for adding any upgrades from my upgrade shop to whatever app you choose. So this would be like social sharing features, one-click contact features, the ability to send instant notifications to your users, or like lots of upgrades that we have available. And so I'll give you $800 to kind of spend in that shop and get all the features you want for your app. And two, like if you like, I'm definitely going to create an app at some point, you can take advantage of the offer now. I'll get your content management system all set up for you, and you can finish your content and branding at your leisure. And then whenever you're ready, we'll put it all together for you and submit you to the App Store. So that's kind of like my thoughts on when you should get your app done, probably sooner than later if you want to really take advantage of the opportunity. And here are some incentives to really get you started next month. And, at least we can schedule a call and try to figure out whether it's the best option for you.
Right. I mean, when you put down the investment, say I'm going to be doing it, you are going to kick your butt to do it, and that's one of the ways to get things done is to just say, yes, I'm doing it, right?
Yeah. I also just have some free resources on my website. I have a full guide to creating an app, 7 steps to creating the app, and that goes from whether you're creating an app from scratch to whether you're gonna use a template or like a hard candy shell kind of product like I have. And really will help you out no matter who you decide to develop with, and we'll just give you a good overview of the this space. So that's for free, and anybody can just go and download it from the website.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I thank you so much for being here today, and it's a really enlightening kind of conversation to really look into the space of mobile application, how you can use it as a coach particularly, and basically what to know and what to look out for when you're creating your own app. So thank you so much, Lindsay, for being here with us today. And I will post all the details on the blog post as well underneath the video so people can know where to find you.
Awesome. Thank you. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.